Good morning, students. In our last class, we have discussed the muscular tissues, where these are muscular tissues are derived from the mesoderm of an embryo, where here the iris, the muscles of iris, as well as the myoepithelium cells of the salivary glands, the sweat glands and the mammary glands are produced from the ectoderm, where they are having three types of based on their position. Their position here they are classified into three types. One is the striped muscles, or otherwise you can call them as striated muscles, or we can call them as voluntary muscles. And second one is unstriped muscles or smooth muscles, or we can call them as involuntary muscles. And the third one is the cardiac muscles, where they are present only in the heart, so they are called as the cardiac muscles. These are having both the characters of the straightened muscles as well as smooth muscle characters are presenting, that I have discussed in the last class. Now coming to the next one, that is the last one, the fourth one, that is we can call as the fourth one is the nervous tissue, nervous tissues, nervous tissue. So here the fourth one, the last one, the tissue is we can call as a nervous tissues. So here a nervous means here will having the brain, that means it includes, that means in the nervous tissues here in the nervous system, here it includes the brain, spinal cord and also the nerves. And also here in the main nervous tissue will consist of the neurons. Neurons are the specialized, these are the highly specialized tissues or highly specialized cells present in a nervous system, So you will having in the nervous system will having the highly specialized cells, that highly specialized cells which are presenting, we can call them as neurons. These neurons are helpful for the conducting an impulse. That means these are helpful for receiving and conducting the stimulus. That means receiving and conducting an impulse. And also the coordination of the functions of an organism, and also helps in coordination in an organism. Why means here the conducting, the stimulating of the response to the stimulus. When shows a response to the stimulus, here receiving and conducting the impulse. Here conducting impulse means the response to the stimulus. That means the receiving of the information and also the passing of the information is mainly taken place in the presence of the neurons only. So here receiving and conducting of impulse and also helpful for the smooth coordination of the functions which are taken place in an organism, that is mainly taken place with the help of neurons only, or the nervous tissues only. And also here the nervous tissue which is presenting, it is derived from the ectoderm. The nervous tissue is derived from ectoderm. It is derived from the ectoderm of an embryo. So here these are derived from an ectoderm of an embryo. These are derived, and also it is widely distributed throughout the body. It is widely distributed. It is widely distributed throughout the body in the form of a network-like structure. Network-like a structure. A network-like a structure. These are arranged. That means here these are widely distributed throughout the body of an organism in the form of throughout the body in the form of a network-like structure in the visceral as well as peripheral tissues, and also here in the form of visceral and peripheral tissues, and also these are helpful for the coordinate. These are helpful for communicating. These are helpful for communicating, integrating, and also the coordination of the smooth functioning of organs and organ systems in the body. It also helpful in helps in the communicating, integrate, and also the coordination of organs and organ systems, systems in the body of an organism, in the body of an organism. That means here it helpful for the communicating. That means here the passing of a stimulus, response to the stimulus. That means when a coordination is taken place here, it shows that a response to the stimulus. That response to the stimulus will mainly taken place with the help of the nervous system, that is the presence of neurons which are presenting in our body only. That means here they are helpful for communication or communicating. They communicate the different organs and integrate. Integrate means they are inbuilt in our body. And also the coordination. That means all organs and organ systems which are present in our body, their functioning will be taken place smoothly. Function of all the body parts, that is response to the stimulus, or we can taken place the conduction of an impulse or response to stimulus that are mainly taken place with the help of the nerve systems in the nerve tissues, that are mainly in the form of the neurons are the main function which is presenting in our body. And also here we'll having the structures. When you see in the structures, here there are the neurons. Here in the nervous system, our nervous system will having two structures are presenting. So what are the two structures means? First one we can call as neurons, and second one is called as nerve gliae or glia cells. Nerve glia cells are presenting, where these are used supporting and helpful, supporting, protecting as well as nourishment for the development of neurons. So such type of cells are called as the neuroglial cells. So here there are two type of cells are presenting in a nervous system. One is neurons and second one is the neuroglial cells. So what are that? Now one by one will be discussed in this topic. First we will go for neurons, later you go for neuroglial cells which are presenting in the nervous tissues. Now coming to the structure of the neurons. a neuron. So your neurons are classified into two types. That means the nervous system is classified into two types. One is the neurons and second one is the neuroglial cells. So here first we will go for a neuron, structure of neuron, later we will go for a neuroglial cells. Now coming to the structure of the neuron. So here it is a basic and a unit of the nervous system. It is the a basic unit of the nervous system. It is the a basic unit of a nervous system. Nervous system. So here the neuron which is presenting, it is a basic unit of a nervous system, and also here the neurons which are present in our body, they having the other cells which are present in our body. Likewise, neurons are also present in our body and having a great function, that is having it performs a specific or a key difference or key functions in our body. And here these are the an information processing, or we can call them as an information processing units of the brain. These are the an information processing units. These are the an information processing units of the brain, units of a brain, where these are helpful for the communicating. That means these are helpful for the conducting an impulse. These are helpful for the conducting. These are helpful for conducting an impulse. Where here these are the specialized cells. That means these are the specialized cells which are helpful for the information processing unit of the brain, where these are helpful for the conduction of an impulse to the body. And also here each part of the neuron plays very important role, that is a communication of information throughout the body. That means each neuron plays an important role. That means each neuron plays an important role in communicating throughout the body. So that is the main function. So for the communication of that means they act as information processing units of the brain, and also they are helpful for the communicating throughout the body. So that neurons are called as the neurons. The neurons are called as the structural and functional units of the nervous tissues. These are the structural and functional units of nervous tissues or nervous tissues. So here each neurons, that means in the nervous tissue, the neurons which are presenting here, they act as the information processing units of the brain and the spinal cord, as well as and also they communicate throughout the body. And also, so during communicating, and that means conducting an impulse, and also here communicating throughout the body, so that we can call them as neurons, are called as the structural and functional units of the nervous tissues or a nervous system. So here it gives a definite structure for the nervous tissues, and also its function is it helpful for smooth coordinating of the communication or coordination of organs or organ systems, and also helpful for conducting impulse and communicating throughout the body. So and also communicating, not only communicating, here coordination is also taken place throughout a smooth coordination of functions of the body. So here neurons are called as the structural and functional units of a nervous tissues or a nervous system. And here majorly, if you see in the diagrammatic representation, the diagram of a neuron, here neuron will shows that three parts are taken place. So here we will having three parts are presenting. So what are that three parts means? The first one we can call them as the dendrites. It is differentiated, that means neuron is differentiated into three regions. So the first one is dendrites, and the second one is the cyton. The second one is the cyton, and the third one is the axon. So these are the three parts which are present in the nervous, that is in in the diagram of structure of neurons. So here one is dendrites, and second one is the cyton, and third one is the axon, which is presenting. These are the, that means these are hair-like structures are called as the dendrites, and from the dendrite, that means in the central part of the neuron is the cyton, where these from these cyton it arises and dendrites are arises. And next, a long cylindrical shaped structure which is presenting, it is a long cylindrical shaped structure which is presenting, we can call as an axon. So these are the three main parts which are presenting in the nervous tissue or in the neuron. So here one by one now will be discussed, that is one by one we will be going on discussing the nervous structure of a neuron. Now coming to the first one, that is dendrites. So here what are these dendrites means? These are the arise from the cyton, that means these are arise from the cyton. These are arise from a cyton, where here the cyton is consisting of, it is the cyton is differentiated into two fibers. The two fibers are, one is called as the dendrites, and the second one is called as the axon. That means here from the axon, that is the cyton will consist of two fibers, that is two nerve fibers are presenting. The two fibers are, one is called as the dendrites and second one is called as the axons. So here the cyton is, that means these are arise from the cyton, which are hair-like structures. These are the hair-like, these are hair-like structures. These are the hair-like structures where they carries information. They carries information towards the cyton. Towards the cyton. By means here the next, that means one neuron of telodendrites, one neuron of telodendrites, another neuron of dendrites combines, here will having the exchanging of the information will be taken place. So here that is we can call as a synapse. So what are that will later will discuss. From these cyton will arises a hair-like structures are arising. These hair-like structures which are arises, these we can call them as the dendrites. So here the dendrites, they carries information from one neuron to the another neuron and passes information from towards the dendrites towards the cyton, from cyton to the axon, from axon to the telodendrites, from telodendrites to another neuron of dendrites, the information is passes. So likewise the information is passing, so here it is passes, the information is passing towards the carries, that means hair-like structures, they carries information towards the cyton, the information is taken place. So these are hair-like structures which are arise from the cyton are called as dendrites. And also here the dendrites, next the second one is the cyton. If you see in the cyton, here the cyton, or otherwise here it is also called as the centron. the centron, or otherwise it is also called as the soma also. Here it is called as the cyton or the centron or the soma. So here the centrally placed part which is present in a neuron, that is called as the cyton, centrally placed region we can call as the cyton, where the length of the cyton is 13 Armstrong units, that is the width of this the width of the cyton is 13 Armstrong units it is presenting. And also here the cyton which is presenting, it is consisting of the cyton is surrounded by surrounded by a plasma membrane. So that plasma membrane which is surrounding, we can call that as the neurolemma. That means the cyton is surrounded by plasma membrane. So that membrane we can call as a neurolemma, and the cytoplasm is called as cytoplasm is called as a neuroplasm. That means the cytoplasm which is presenting, we can call as that means in the cytoplasm which is presenting. That means here the cyton is surrounded by plasma membrane. That plasma membrane we can call as a neurolemma, and the cytoplasm which is consisting, we can call as a neuroplasm. And also here in the neuroplasm will having a centrally placed a nucleus is presenting. In the cyton will having a centrally placed nucleus, and also consist of the cytoplasm. In the cytoplasm will having a specialized granules are presenting. That granules are called as the Nissel's granules. These are consisting of Nissel's granules. These Nissel's granules are helpful in a protein synthesis. That means Nissel's granules are helpful in helps in a protein synthesis. They are helpful in a protein synthesis. Why means these Nissel's granules will consist of a rough endoplasmic reticulums are presenting. The Nissel's granules consist of a rough endoplasmic reticulum. These rough endoplasmic reticulums are helpful in a protein synthesis. That is the main function which is presenting the Nissel's granules. That means in the cytoplasm of the cyton will consist of a specialized granules are presenting. These granules we can call as Nissel's granules. These Nissel's granules are helpful for a protein synthesis. And also here it does not having the centrioles. In the cyton, the centrioles are absenting. That means these does not undergoes any cell divisions. That is in adult neurons there is no centrioles. In adult neurons, the centrioles are absent. The centrosomes are absent. That means centrioles are absent. So that here once the losing of neurons, that means once the neurons are lost over, again they are not be replaced. So that here in the adults it does not having the centrosomes are, that means they does not undergo a cell divisions. So centrioles are absenting. So in this the centrioles are absent means when they are damaged means here repairing will not be taken place in an organism. That means once the nervous system is damaged, here we cannot able to produce, or regeneration will not be taken place. That is why means due to the absence of the centrioles are absenting in the nervous tissues or in the neurons, where here these cyton will having two fibers are presenting, that two fibers here having it is differentiated into two nerve fibers. They are differentiated into two nerve fibers that are, one is called as the dendrites. First one is called as the dendrites and the second one is called as the axon. That means here it is the nerve fibers, that means the cyton will consist of two nerve fibers are presenting. The two nerve fibers are, one we can call as the dendrites and the second one is called as the axons, where these are arise from the, that means the dendrites and axons are arise from the cyton only. They are arise from the cyton only, these are arised. And also the presence of the cyton and dendrites, the number of position, that means based on the position and number of dendrites and cytons, here the neurons are classified into three types. What are that means? Based on their position, number of the dendrites and cytons, that means here the neurons are classified into three types. One is called as unipolar neurons and second one is called as bipolar neurons and the third one is called as a multipolar neurons. So what are that? Now will be discussed. Now coming to the based on their number and position, of the cell body or cyton, these are classified, that means neurons are classified into three types. One is called as unipolar neurons and the second one is called as the bipolar neurons and the third one is a multipolar neurons. So here we are having the the three types of the neurons are presenting. One is an unipolar neurons and second one is the bipolar neurons and the third one is the multipolar neurons. So in the name will indicate bi, uni means single. If the cyton will consist of only one dendrites are presenting, will having and it consists of an axon and one dendrites are arising. That means here neurons, the cyton will cytons consisting of one neuron, one axon and one dendrites. Then it is called as an unipolar neurons, where these are present in the embryonic stages of these are present in embryonic stage. Example, the embryonic stage. In an embryonic stage, these consisting of, so we can call them as uni means single. That means this from the cyton will having one axon is presenting and only one dendrites are arising, then we can call them as the unipolar neurons. And the second one, if you see, will having it consists of bipolar neurons. It having two nerve fibers, one is the dendrites and another is the axon from the opposite poles. So here we'll having that means here in these we'll having in unipolar here no dendrites are absent, here dendrites are absenting. Here we'll having only, it consists of one cyton and one axon only will presenting. There is no dendrites. Then such type you can call them as that means in unipolar will having the cyton and the axon the axon and the cyton and axons are consisting, but no neurons are presenting, then we can call that as an unipolar neurons. Sorry, once again I will come. So here unipolar will having one cyton consists of one axon and no dendrites, we can call as unipolar neuron. Example, embryonic stage. In bipolar neuron will having the cyton consists of one axon and one dendrites. If consists of one axon and one dendrites, then we can call as bi means two. That means one cyton, one axon and one dendrites are arising. Then we can call that as a bipolar neurons, where these are presenting in the rods and cones, the retina of eye, that is the rods and cones. Here in rods and cones will having in the retina of the eye, will having the rods and cones are presenting, where he'll having the rods and cones will having bipolar, that is one axon and one dendrites are arising. From the cyton will arises one axon and one dendrites, then we can call as bipolar neurons. If they having only one axon is arising, no dendrites are presenting, then we can call them as a unipolar neurons. And coming to the last one, that is a multipolar neurons. That is from the cyton. From the cyton consisting of one axon and many dendrites If they are consisting of one axon and many dendrites. So here many dendrites you can take place in the nervous system of the humans. In the nervous system we can take place as a multipolar neurons, where we will having many dendrites, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means more than one dendrites are presenting. If they having many dendrites are presenting, where it consists of only one axon and consisting of many dendrites, then we can call as a multipolar neurons. These multipolar neurons are present in a nervous system. Example, the brain cells are the nervous system. In the nervous system will having the many dendrites are presenting. That means more than one dendrites are presenting. Then we can call them as the multipolar or call them as a multipolar neurons. That means based on their number and the position of neurons, these are classified into three types. One we can call as the unipolar, there is one axon and one no dendrites, and bipolar, here will consist of one axon and one dendrites, and in multipolar one axon and many dendrites are presenting. We can call them as a multipolar neurons. So these are the based on the number and position of their the axons or neurons are classified into three types. Next, based on their function, that means based on the functions of neurons, these are classified into three types. One is the sensory nerves or sensory neurons, motor neurons, as well as the third one is the mixed neurons, or we can call them as an interneurons or mixed neurons. So what are that now will be discussed. So here coming to the based on their functions, here neurons are classified into three types. So first one is the sensory nerves, sensory neurons, and the second one is the motor neurons, the motor neurons, and the third one is interneurons, or we can call them as a mixed neurons or a mixed neurons. So here based on their function, the neurons are classified into 3 types. So here what are sensory neurons means? These are the neurons which carries information. Here neurons carries information from body parts to the to a brain. That means the neuron which carries information from a body parts to the brain, then such type of the neurons are called as a sensory neurons. That means these are carrying information from body parts to the brain. If they are carrying information, then we can call them as the sensory neurons. Next, motor neurons. Here the neurons which carries information from the brain to the body parts, then it is called as the motor neurons. That means for the neurons which carries information from a brain to the body parts, we can call as motor neurons. From body parts to the brain, we can call as sensory neurons. And interneurons or mixed neurons means here they connect the sensory neurons and motor neurons. Sensory and the motor neurons, then we can call them as the mixed neurons. That means the neurons which connects, inter means in between. That means they connecting the sensory and motor neurons are mixing or combining together, then such type of neurons are called as the interneurons, or otherwise we can call them as a mixed neurons. These are the 3 type of neurons where they are based on their functions. So these are classified into 3 types: sensory neurons, which carries body parts to the brain, and motor neurons, the information which carries from brain to the body parts, and interneurons or mixed neurons, they connect the sensory and the motor neurons. So we can call them as the interneurons, or we can call them as a mixed neurons. Now coming to the last part, that is the third part, that is an axon. Next, coming to the third one, that is called as an axon. So here coming to the third part, that third part is called as an axon. So here the axon, what is an axon means? It is arising from the cyton, where it is arising from the cyton, it is connected along a cylindrical shape. That means from cyton to the, that means connecting cyton to axon. This region we can call as this region is called as axon helix. So here what is axon helix means? It is a region where it is arising from the cyton, and it is arising from cyton, it is arising to the and long cylindrical shaped structure. That region we can call as an axon helix, where axons are a long cylindrical shaped structure, cylindrical shaped structures which are presenting are called as an axons, where they are end with the telodendrites, where will having the knob-like structures are presenting. They are called as the synaptic knobs. These we can call them as a synaptic knobs. So here we'll having a synaptic knobs. That means it is long cylindrical shaped structure where it ends with the telodendrites. In the telodendrites will having the synaptic knobs are presenting. So that long cylindrical shaped structure which is presenting we can call as an axon, where this axon is surrounded by the axolemma as well as an exoplasm. It is surrounded by surrounded by an axolemma and an exoplasm. So axolemma means the plasma membrane which is surrounded by the axon we can call as an axolemma, and the cytoplasm which is present in axon we can call as an exoplasm. And also here the cylindrical shaped structure which is presenting will consist of different regions. That means around the axon, an axon here it consists of an axon here it consists of a myelinated sheath is presenting around the axon. It having a fatty layer. A layer is surrounding that thin fatty layer which is surrounded by an axon is called as a myelin sheath. Is called as a myelin sheath. That is, your axon is surrounded by a thin fatty layer, a fatty layer called as the myelin sheath. So due to the presence of the myelin sheath are absenting, here the neurons are classified based on the presence of the myelin sheath. Based on myelin sheath, the neurons are classified. Neurons are classified into two types. They are classified into two types. So what are the two types means? One we can call as the first one we can call as myelinated neurons, and second one is called as the non-myelinated neurons. So here based on the presence of the myelin sheath, based on the presence of myelin sheath, that is here it having a thin fatty coated layer is presenting. This is a thin fatty coated layer which is presenting we can call as the myelin sheath. So based on the presence of the myelin sheath, the neurons are classified into two types. One is myelinated neurons and second one is a non-myelinated neurons. So now coming to discuss. Based on the myelin sheath, they are classified into two types. One is a myelinated neurons, and second one is a non-myelinated neurons. So here the two types, that means here two types based on the myelin sheath, these are classified into two types. One is myelinated neurons. That means if the neuron consists of a myelin sheath, if it is a consisting of myelin sheath, then myelin sheath means it is a lipoproteinaceous layer. What is myelin sheath means? A lipoproteinaceous layer or a thin fatty layer which is presenting. If lipoproteinous layer is present, then we can call them as the myelinated neurons, where they are present in the vertebrates. Example, the vertebrates. So here example is vertebrates, where here information is taken place within a fraction of seconds. Due to the presence of myelin sheath, the information is passes within a fraction of seconds. Then we can call that as the myelinated neurons. That means lipoprotein sheath or a myelin sheath is presenting, then we can call as myelinated neurons. Examples are the vertebrates. Non-myelinated sheath, lipoproteinaceous sheath is absent. Sheath is absent, or the myelin sheath is absenting, then we can call as non-myelinated neurons. Example is an invertebrates. Examples are and invertebrates, where here example is invertebrates means information. In the invertebrates, the information is a delay of information. That means slowly the information is passing. So that here this type of, that means due to the absence of myelin sheath, here information is a delay. That means slowly the information is passing. Then we can call them as an invertebrates. But they are called as an invertebrates. Example, wherein myelinated in invertebrates, information is processed through a fraction of seconds. For example, if anyone have pinched, here within a fraction of seconds we know that, so that here response to stimulus will be taken place within a fraction of seconds. So here it is called as, these type of neurons are called as the myelinated neurons. Next, and also inside the myelinated neurons will having the cell is presenting, that cell is called as the Schwann cell, or we can call them as neurolemmacytes, or otherwise we can call them as that means inside inside the myelinated sheath, inside myelinated sheath, having a nucleus. A nucleus is called as the Schwann cell. The Schwann cell, or we can call as a neurolemmacytes. So here neurolemma or Schwann cell, what is the main function of this Schwann cell? Means this Schwann cell will secrete the myelin sheaths. What is the function of this Schwann cell? Means this Schwann cell will secrete the myelin sheaths. That means Schwann cell secretes a myelin sheath. And also here in between the myelin sheath will having gaps are presenting. These gaps we can call as the nodes of Ranvier. The gaps are present in between the myelin sheath, myelinated sheath. Gaps are presenting. Gaps are present, called nodes of Ranvier. Nodes of Ranvier. What is the function of node for? Means these are helpful for exchange of ions. These are helpful for exchange of ions. When means when here these nerves are stimulated. When the nerves are stimulated, here exchanging of ions are taken place. That exchange of ions are taken place in between these gaps. That gaps are called as the nodes of Ranvier. These are, we can call them as the nodes of Ranvier. So where we are having the gaps presenting, we can call as nodes of Ranvier. And at the end of an axon will having the telodendrites are presenting. So here the ends of the, that means at the end of the neurons will having the ends of axon will consist of the telodendrites. We can call the axon. At the ends of axon will having a telodendrites. In the telodendrites will having a knob-like structures are presenting. That knob-like structures are called as the synaptic knobs. So here information is passing. That means information is passing from one neuron to another neuron. How it is taken place means one neuron of dendrites and another neuron of telodendrites, the information is passing through the help of a process. That means from one neuron of dendrites to another neuron of telodendrites, if the information is processing is taken place, we can call that as a synapse. Synapse means here in between the neurons there are millions of neurons are presenting. So adjacent dendrites will having telodendrites. That means telodendrites having adjacently dendrites are presenting. So information is passing from one neuron of telodendrites to the another neuron of dendrites. So this process we can call as the synapse. In the synapse we will having the synaptic knobs are presenting. These synaptic knobs will consist of synaptic vesicles are presenting. In these synaptic vesicles will secrete neurotransmitters are secreted that are in our body. There are two type of neurotransmitters are presenting. One is we can call as the dopamine and acetylcholine. Dopamine and acetylcholine, these are the two neurotransmitters. Through these neurotransmitters the information is passing from one neuron to the another neuron of dendrites. So what are that we'll discuss. Now coming to this one neuron of telodendrites, one neuron of telodendrites and another neuron of dendrites. Information is a passes. Information passes. This process is called as the synapse. Is called as a synapse. So this synapse will consist of the synaptic knobs are presenting. The knobs are presenting. These synaptic knobs will secrete the synaptic vesicles. These vesicles will secrete the neurotransmitters. Transmitters will secrete the neurotransmitters. They secrete the neurotransmitters. Where these neurotransmitters are, there are two type of neurotransmitters are there. One is called as the dopamine, and the second one is an acetylcholine. So these are the two type of neurotransmitters present in our body. So due to the presence of these neurotransmitters, here information is taken place very fast from one neuron of telodendrites to the another neuron of dendrites. So this process we can call as a synapse. Synapses consist of synaptic knobs. The synaptic knobs will secrete the synaptic vesicles. The synaptic vesicles will secrete neurotransmitters where the information is passing from one neuron to the another, one neuron of telodendrites to the another neuron of dendrites. So information is processing where your neurons are mainly important for the conduction of impulse. And also these are helpful for the coordination, communicating as well as coordination of body with smooth performing the coordinating of organs and organ systems in our body. That is a main function which is performed by the neurons. So this is about the structure of the neurons, where consists of three parts. One is dendrites, cyton and axon. But means here mainly the cyton. From the cyton only these three fibers are arises. And also here the myelin sheath, that is will having the axon with an associated myelin sheath will consist of the myelin sheath, the axon with a myelinated sheath. That means along with the span cell, with a span cell, we can call them as a narrow fibers. We can call them as the narrow fibers. What is narrow fibers? Means the axon with myelinated sheath. Myelin sheath means will consist of the span cell is presenting. Then we can call that as a narrow fiber. What is narrow fibers? Means here narrow fibers, not fiber. Narrow fiber. It is axon with a myelinated sheath with a span cell we can call as a the nerve fiber. So this is about the structure of neurons. Next, coming to the last one, that is the neuroglial cells. So now we will discuss neuroglial cells. Now coming to the neuroglial cells. Neuroglial cells. So here neuroglial cells, these are smaller than neurons, and also here it consists of it does not consist of the dendrites and axons. It does not consist of dendrites and axons. Where here these are the supporting cells. These are the supporting and protective. These are supporting, protective, and the nourishment cells. That means these cells are helpful for the supporting, protecting, and also providing food materials for the development of neurons. So they are called as neuroglial cells, where they are very smaller in nature than the neurons, and also here does not having dendrites and the axons, but these are based on the presence of neuroglial cells in the center of that means based on the presence of the neuroglial cells in central nervous system. These are classified into three types. These are classified into three types. One is called as the astrocytes. Second one is called as oligodendrocytes. Oligodendrites, and third one is microglial cells. So these are the three types of cells where they are presenting in the neural, that is in the central nervous system, such as the astrocytes, the oligodendrites, and also the third one is that is the microglial cells. Astrocytes, these are the astro means a star. These are star-shaped cells. These are star-shaped cells which are presenting in the nervous system, where these are helpful for the maintenance of maintains an appropriate chemical environment for the neural signal. That means these are helpful for maintenance the chemical environment for the signaling, for the neuro signaling, That means these are helpful for the maintenance of chemical environment for neuro signals, and also these also maintains the brain barriers also. These are maintains the blood brain barriers. These are maintained by blood brain barriers are also, that are called as the astrocytes. Why means these are the cells where they having the short-shaped cells are presenting. We can call them as astrocytes. These are main function of these astrocytes are maintains the chemical environment to the neuro signaling, and also these are helpful for the maintenance of blood that is the blood brain barriers. Next, oligodendrites. Oligo means a few. Oligo means a few dendrites. That means these are the dendrites having very few in number, and also very few in number. Few number that are present in a brain and the spinal cord. where the main function of oligodendrites means they produce myelin sheath for a quick conduction, for a quicker conduction of an impulse. For quick conduction of an impulse, they produce the myelin sheaths are produced by the oligodendrites. Next, coming to the last one, the microglial cells. These microglial cells, these are very smaller than these all the types, and also here these are acts as these microglial cells. They act as the phagocytes. The phagocytes, where here we can call them as the macrophages also. The macrophages. That means the macrophages means here these are the type of cells where they are defensive cells, where they are present in nervous system. They are called as microglial cells, where they are called as phagocytes. Phagocytes. They are called them as the phagocytes are macrophages, where they fight against the harmful germs which are entered into our a body by the process of the phagocytosis. So these are the three type of cells where they are presenting in our body, that is supported by they are supporting and building. They are the supporting. These are the supporting, protecting, and also the nourishment, where we'll having three types: astrocytes, oligocytes, and the microglial cells. These are the three types where they are presenting. So this is about the nervous tissue, that is the structure of a neuron. So next class we'll discuss the another topic. Thank you.